बाद औज़ुबिल्लाहि मिनश्शैतानिर्रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम व अनफ़िक़ू फ़ी सबीलिल्लाहि वला तुल्क़ू बिअयदीकुम इलत तहलुकति व अहसिनू इन्नल्लाहा युहिब्बुल मुहसिनीन रब्बि इश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली. My respected brothers and my sisters, last month of Hijri calendar, Islamic calendar, Zil Hajjah, reminds us that this religion, this life is all about struggle, shahada, sacrifice, steadfastness, standing with courage, fulfilling the responsibility as a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Constant struggle. And the first month of our Islamic calendar, Muharramul Haram, is also about the same message, that life is all about constant struggle, sacrificing, giving best of you in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It also gives us a very important message, that Islam stands for communal concept. Islam gives us a community concept, universal concept. Islam is not about individual life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has appointed all of us in this dunya as a Khalifa for only one job, to protect his deen, to make sure that his deen gets established on this earth, to make sure there is no oppression of anybody, to make sure that the kalama of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prevails. The ayah that I have read in front of you, I want to start with this story. And the story is about Hazrat Ayyub Ansari, Raziyallahu ta'ala anhu, and you all know who Hazrat Ayyub Ansari is, the first host of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina. This story is about the journey that Muslim army was marching towards Constantinople, present-day Turkey. And the time came, one of the young men, he went in fighting by himself and got caught by the enemies, and they basically killed him, martyred him, and mutilated his body. So the companion of Hazrat Ayyub Ansari said that, look at this guy. This ayah came that don't put yourself in destruction. This ayah is talking about this kind of man. When you don't have enough help, you should not put yourself in unnecessary trial and tribulation. Hazrat Ayyub Ansari gives a very important message, which is the message for you and me. He says, no, this ayah did not come for this reason. This ayah came, the translation of this is, wa anfiqu fi sabilillah. Give your best in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is not talking just about money. Give whatever Allah has given you. Allah has given you health, Allah has given you wealth, Allah has given you faculties, Allah has given you any potential. Give best of you in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to protect the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to serve deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As I said, Islam is all about communal message that it's a universal message. My job and your job is not just to take care of myself and my family. I have said it before. These are the people who have very little tunnel vision of life. People, they are very little in size. If they just take care of themselves and their family and they feel like they are done. My brothers and my sisters, Hazrat Ayyub Ansari says this ayah came about us. When Prophet moved to Medina, and we all saw that now Islam has succeeded and the establishment of Islamic government has happened. And Prophet ﷺ is in charge of everything. Islam is flourishing. Islam is progressing. So people like us who have sacrificed everything for Islam, this thought came in our mind, now it's time for us to take care of our personal affairs, take care of our businesses, take care of our, other personal things. He says this ayah came that no, your job is not done. Your job was not just to establish Deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, rather your job continues that you have to protect the Deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you all should give everything best of you to support and protect Deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My brothers and my sisters, I was reading one of the poetry of Iqbal, Prayer of Slave, Ghulam ki Namaz. There is a story about it. A Turk Mujahid came to Pakistan, that was India at that time, and he saw that Imam in the masjid, he is doing long sajda in the salah. So Mujahid कहा मुजाहिद तरकीन मुझसे बाद नमाज तवील सजदा हैं क्यों इस कदर तुम्हारे इमाम वो सादा मर्द मुजाहिद वो मोमिने आज़ाद खबर न थी उसे क्या चीज़ है नमाज गुलाम हजार काम है मर्दान हुर को दुनिया में उन्हीं के ज़ौक़ अमल से हैं उम्मतों के निज़ाम खुदा नसीब करे हिंद के इमामों को वो सजदा जिसमें है मिल्लत की जिंदगी का पयाम. Iqbal, when this Mujahid asked question to Allama Iqbal, why your imams are doing long sajda? So Iqbal is explaining him, this is a sajda of a ghulam, a slave. When you are in a prison, you have nothing to do. You have only one thing to do, just to pray. You can do sajda as long as you want because you have nothing to do. But the real sajda is when you are middle of some trial and tribulation. You are in the middle of the busy life of this dunya, and you still take some time out and you go and do sajda. That sajda has the value. That is the message of Karbala as well. You are in the middle of the fight. But when time of Salah comes, Hazrat Imam Hussain bows down and puts his head on the floor in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the real sajda. When you have to struggle, when you have to fight your nafs, when you have to sacrifice something, and now you are proving yourself that I am ready to put my head in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is the sajda of a real mu'min, real Muslim, the one who is a true servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My brothers and my sisters. So the real message that I want to communicate with you from Karbala to Gaza is one. Job of a Muslim is that life is about struggle. Life is about constant trials and tribulation. Life is all about, my brothers and my sisters, that even the prophets of the time, Surah Baqarah is the witness, prophet with their companions have asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Mata Nasrullah. Even their patience was running out. Mata Nasrullah, when is the Nusra and help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to come? The message is this life is all about Inna sanulqi alayka qawlan saqila. This is a difficult life. This is a difficult task. And task is only one. My job is to protect Deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many times one question comes in our mind. Why Muslims have to put themselves in such a difficult and hardship? Why Uhud happened? Why Karbala happened? Why all this is happening, what is happening in Gaza? Let me tell you, there are three reasons. First, through these trials and tribulations, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala screens whoever the weak people are, they will be screened out. And this provides opportunity to shine. To the people who have true faith, they shine in these difficult times. And the second, this process of difficulties, it makes your foundations strong. If Uhud wouldn't happen, then we may not have that many benefits that we see after the Uhud. These hardships and difficulties become role model for the future generation. Whatever happened in Karbala, what Imam Hussein Raziallah Ta'ala Anhu did, really become a role model that whenever there is a tyranny, whenever there is oppression, you should stand for justice. And today, even today, it resonates in the hearts of millions of people, the message of Karbala, to encourage them, to inspire them. It does not matter how many are against you. You don't count on numbers. You count on principles. You count on morals. You count on the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your job is to stand with the truth. My brothers and my sisters, today the reason I chose this topic for khutbah, we all say, Imam Hussein was on the right path. He sacrificed, but we all, most of the time in our life, we take side of the Yazidi message. Even as a Muslim, we take the side of which is not truth. We take the side of the people who are against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We all, celebrate Muharram. We all shed tears when the Muharram and Karbala message comes. But after that, most of us are doing exactly what Yazidi message was for. And we give up. We give up on the life, the message of Imam Hussein Raziallah Ta'ala Anhu. Another story I will share with you. When this battle was happening between Imam Hussein and Yazid, the army of Yazid, there was a character, if you remember, Hur. He was the army general of Yazid. A strange thing was happening. When Hur was about to attack Imam Hussein Raziallah Ta'ala Anhu, he was going back and forth. He moves forward towards Imam Hussein to attack, then he pauses and goes back, and then moves forward and goes back. Some of his senior army generals, they asked Hur, "What are you doing? You never did this kind of strange behavior. This is strange that you are moving forward and going back, moving forward and going back." My brothers and my sisters, let me share with you what Hur said. And wallahi, you and me, in this life, we all go through the same struggle every day, many times in the day. And reflect that what you choose for yourself. Who said, when I'm debating myself, when I go towards Imam Hussein to attack him, I see my Jahannam in front of me. I see my Jahannam in front of me. But when I go back towards Yazid to retrieve, not to attack, I see my Jannah in front of me. So I'm fighting myself. Should I choose Jahannam or Jannah for myself? And he says, I have decided that I will choose Jannah and I will not attack Imam. He's seeing his death. He's an army general. He knows that there are only a handful of people with Imam Hussein to stand with for justice, to ready to sacrifice. He goes to Imam Hussein, Raziallah Ta'ala Anhu, and sits down on his feet. and says, Imam Hussein, can you pray for me that if I join your ranks, that Allah will grant me Jannah? And Imam Hussein raises his hand, makes a special dua for Hur, and now Hur attacks the army of Yazid, and you know what happened next? That he got killed, he got martyred, his body was mutilated, his head was chopped to make Ibra for rest of the army. But wallahi, who is the winner? Hur is the winner, or Shimr, who came after Hur to attack Imam Hussein, he is the winner. Nobody knows who Shimr was, but everybody knows and will know until the last human being on this planet that Hur was the man who took stand for justice against oppression. Help Imam Hussein, help the truth, help the Deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My brothers and my sisters, we all struggle every day. And we choose most of the time for ourselves Jahannam than Jannah. Because in our mind we have that, oh, I'm against Yazidi message. But practically we go against it. My brothers and my sisters, I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives you and me this tawfiq, that if we can understand, this life is not just about taking care of myself. This life is not just about increasing my bank balance. This life is not just to educate my kids. This life is not just about having a big house. This life, the biggest responsibility you and me, we have as a Muslim, my brothers and my sisters, is to protect Deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when Allah's Deen will prevail, wallahi, when you come, I was thinking why Iqbal has written this poetry, Prayer of a Slave. The reason is, when you come for prayer in the masjid on regular days, this time of you is a amana of your family and a ummah. Your real time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be at night time. You stand and do long sajda at night time when you are standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by yourself. But during the daytime, you are more worried and concerned. You want to make sure nobody gets oppressed outside. There is no zulm outside. You want to make sure you help whoever needs help. That is your primary role during the daytime as a Muslim, that you are proactive in the community to help others, whoever needs the help. My brothers and my sisters, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. As I said in the beginning, the message of our deen is communal message. His message to build community, society, universal. We all have made this deen an individual deen. This deen is just about me. No, this deen is to connect all of us together to become ummah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The second message which I wanted to communicate to you all, my brothers, our primary role is to stand with truth. Stand with the path of Jannah. This life is all about struggle. And this struggle is for a reason to screen people who are weak and to give opportunity to people who want to shine in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this gives us opportunity so that we can make our foundations strong. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives us tawfiq, that we can establish a system in this society. You know, if you go and analyze what's happening all around the world, oppression. Every rich man, every strong man is oppressing the weak one. If you go, the success of one is at the cost of failure of other. Islam wants to establish a system where there will be no istihsal, there will be no oppression. Islam wants to establish a system in which every fellow human being is a Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will be part of that collective effort to manage the affairs of humanity. And everything we have in this dunya is amana of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we have to utilize in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One day, inshallah, in our life, we can see that message of Islam gets established in this part of the world or anywhere in the world. So people can really see the nur, the barakah, the blessing, the rahmah. And if I connect Karbala with Gaza, whatever is happening with brothers and sisters in Gaza, there are many people, they say, why they started all this fight? What was the reason? They should have just stayed, quiet and live a normal life. I say to you, my brothers and my sisters, standing against oppression, standing for justice, standing with the Deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this life is going to end for everybody. Nobody remembers Yazid. Nobody remembers Shimr. Nobody remembers the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yazid, वो उर्दू में कहते हैं यजीद था और हुसैन हैं. That people will remember these people who sacrifice their everything for a bigger purpose in life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us opportunity to see the bigger picture of life and live our life with full potential for purpose and reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has assigned us